This is a Tracking the Tropics update with a certified most accurate weather team at First Coast News.
Well, it is time to talk about the tropics out here, of course, with Melissa now all the way out towards Iceland. We're also looking at other areas out here, and at least at this time, not too much happening.
Yeah.
I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta. There is our chief meteorologist, Lewis Turner. Lou, a lot different than we were at a week ago today.
Yeah, seriously, because we were talking about Jamaican impacts, Cuban impacts with Melissa, and it's amazing. It's all over, So, not hurricane season, Melissa. It's all over, and it is something we truly watched for a couple of weeks, even when it was just a weak cluster of storms, not even a wave technically, as it did become a wave and entered the Caribbean, and then it took forever. I mean, this was a slow, long burn with what was historic Hurricane Melissa. So explain kind of what we're looking at here. This is a great graphic.
What we're looking at here is actually that cone history, because you were talking about that slow burn. Remember when this first was named?
Circle.
It was a circle, and we were saying there was like this low confidence in exactly when this would turn towards the north.
Yep.
And this indicates, about the time when that confidence did come together and it started to kick off there. But it was a tough initial forecast.
Yeah.
That's something to be open and transparent about right off the bat. We weren't quite sure if it was going to hit Hispaniola directly or Cuba or Jamaica. But there was that kind of confidence, Lou, that it wasn't going to go into the Gulf, right?
Yes.
And
that's what happened. So, and the Hurricane Center, the ones who draw they would be the first to say that's why we did it. That's why we drew the circle like that, because confidence so extraordinarily low. Steering currents, at least where the storm was originally and initially named, were nil. So we had to get it caught up into something. It had to, you had to get it caught into that, ultimately the troughs that just kept digging in. But at that moment, it was still so far south that it wouldn't. But, once forward momentum picked up, and it took forever, it took, we were looking at like Monday, Tuesday for those impacts into Jamaica and ultimately Cuba and the Bahamas. By the time we got to late Tuesday and Wednesday, that's when your trough series picked it up and steered it away as the forecast always kind of held to.
And right here, I'm just showing you kind of what the troughs look like. We're talking about these waves that come down from the north, and they act as a wall to keep it away from the southeast. And
we've got more coming.
But yeah, there's more coming.
And that's what we're seeing here.
Some cooler air as well. So hopefully it keeps things calm. But hurricane season's not over yet.
So that leads me to my question to you. Do you So would you be aggressive right now? And while hurricane season is not over, we got to get to November 30th. Are you quite ready yet to put a time of death on hurricane season 2025?
I would.
Are we on life support?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely, I think for the southeast, I think we're getting there.
We're getting to be on life support. And part of that, we're not going to, I'm not going to be the guy who is going to say, and there are plenty of social media meteorologists out there and legit guys who have said, all right, this one's over for the United States at least. We can say goodnight to hurricane season 2025. I'm not ready to do that yet because we have seen the November hurricane.
Yeah,
it has happened there, and so while jet stream is dipping south, cooler temperatures are happening. The Gulf is cooling, near shore waters are cooling. Caribbean has cooled a bit. It's still very warm, and that's just kind of one of those things that makes you furrow your eyebrows a little bit, and you watch places around Central America.
And well, I got to that. I got a couple graphics kind of showing all that here in a second. I do want to just really quick before we do move on is pull up some video out of Jamaica, because and this would be good news if hurricane season was just completely done, because there would be no more threats to Jamaica, because my goodness, I think now, Lou, if you've heard something different, the last I've seen is 67 deaths now in Jamaica.
Yeah, that and we knew those numbers. Look at this. I mean, just staggering. And we knew the original report was 3 out of Jamaica, right? So we got 24, 48 hours, and we just heard 3. And then we heard about 30 in Haiti. But we knew those numbers, inevitably, sadly, were going to climb.
Was more or less down, right?
Correct. So you were just waiting. But I will say what we're seeing at the video out of Jamaica is how resilient the citizens there are out working on it, rebuilding, getting back as best they can with support services coming from the United States and other parts across the world.
Yeah,
really.
definitely the fortitude of that, because the fact is no one's I'm sure there are some people. Majority of people out there are not waiting around for somebody else to come and help.
Correct.
Just, hey, we're an island. We got to get back together. We got to get things back up, and they're getting at it there. Yep. But you see in some of these images, this is when we were live streaming at landfall. We were talking about like bark and de-leafing of trees and everything.
Yes, look.
This image right here is exactly what I was trying to refer to back then. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's Cat 4, Cat 5 winds, and that's what it will do to a neighborhood. And incredible stuff. And then we were talking about the flooding, like in the Black River area, that significant storm surge, which I'm sure the assessment of the complete picture of damage is still not over yet. That's going to take a while out here, Lou.
And also another thing to look at when we're looking at the structures. Mm-hmm. All right, so we do have roofs coming off, but everything, and now that is a bad image of devastation and damage. But so much of the construction there is concrete, cinder block. So a lot of buildings, while we do see some that were destroyed, some of those smaller outbuildings, a lot of buildings did kind of serve as at least a little bit like that of some shelter from the winds.
Yeah, and you see that a lot in tropical climates, places that are built up. And I think this is something, if we take it back home to Florida, that I think especially coastal communities need to think about more, is building up like that with a brick. It may not look as pretty right off the bat as, a nice big wood home, and it's going to be a little more expensive right off the bat, but it keeps you a little safer in the unfortunate event if this ever does happen a little bit closer to home here. But my goodness, just going to be a while out there recovering out here in Jamaica. So let's talk about, let's bring it back to the graphics. Let's talk about the forecast here as we go ahead over the upcoming week. And I just have one model here, Lou. Yeah. Just because the GFS doesn't show much different. The ECMWF still shows a little bit of the easterlies. We have the Bermuda High located just over Bermuda. A little bit of subtropical ridging coming down, basically right in here. But I think the big thing is just the dips in the jet stream. That's going to keep most things that, if anything does develop, it would keep it further towards the south or scoot it a little bit off towards northeast. Now, you mentioned this a moment ago, the sea surface temperatures. Yeah. Do you mind explaining to everybody, like, when we talk about latent heat or the high heat capacity of the water, what exactly are we talking about here? Yeah, so just the most elementary level, we got to have 80-degree sea surface temperature for a tropical system to form, for a hurricane to get going. That's why we have a hurricane season. That's when we see the sea surface temperatures get to 80 and above. Reason being, when you get a cluster of thunderstorms and you get some convective energy, meaning uplift, those sea surface temperatures so warm that that water evaporating into a cluster of thunderstorms that creates a cooling effect, which allows hot air at the surface. All right, so hot air rises, but when you get a little evaporation and some of that cooling happening, think about when you sweat and water evaporates off your skin, immediately you get cooled off. It's our body's mechanism of cooling things off. So you get evaporative cooling in the atmosphere right around, but that water and that surface air is so warm that things continue to rise. And now you've got yourself a self-sustaining engine. All right, you've got an engine of heat, the latent heat energy that gets up into already developed thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms just get more and more potent, more uplift. That hot air gets to rise through that cooler air. Then what happens? So you get evaporation, you get the gas form of water, so you get water vapor getting up into higher levels, and ultimately that condenses again back into water droplets. That's what creates the clouds and ultimately thunderstorms. In our afternoon, we get sea breeze collision, we get things going up and lifted with convection. That condensation then releases heat. So kind of the opposite of evaporation, which cools things, the condensation, that when it comes a cloud again, now you've got hot air released, and then you start getting some sinking happening, and then you start getting convection, and that's what creates thunderstorms. That is why you have those important numbers with the sea surface temperatures that easily evaporates
and then condenses again and just creates, nuclear bomb levels of energy that is needed to ultimately create 185 mile an hour Category 5 hurricanes. When the sea surface temperatures get below 80, or when a hurricane like Melissa moves over extraordinarily warm water, there's a process called upwelling. Okay, so we generally think about sea surface temperatures as that main measurement of, how dangerous is a hurricane season going to be? But there's also deep level. We're talking 30, 40 feet down. If those water temperatures are still quite warm and 80 degrees or above, and the storm moves over and upwells warm water, well, now you've still got some serious energy. What will ultimately happen as we get later in the system, those water columns cool. All right, and a storm like Melissa moves over the Caribbean and will bring up, a little bit, slightly cooler water. Now, we did still see 84, 85 in the Caribbean. That is about 4 degrees cooler than what we were seeing as Melissa was about to move through when we were pushing 90 degree sea surface temperatures, 87, 88, 89 near shore in some spots. So it has improved things a bit. So we're seeing that 85 now. We're seeing that 84. In the Gulf, we're seeing 81, 82, 83. All right, so while that's still warm enough to have tropical development, it's not as extreme as we're going to see in, say, August, September. Okay, so better conditions. Now, where those sea surface temperatures are warmest would be that area kind of Western Caribbean right now, closer to Central America, where we do still have a bit of a Central American gyre develop. You're getting that spin. And so that's where potential development could happen.
And just to, so Western Caribbean, that area, let's talk about some historic storms here then, Lou. Because if we look back to 2020, the 13th to the 18th, we had Iota, which peaked as a 4 to nearly a 5. Yes. 84 deaths, $1.4 billion damages across, specifically Honduras and Nicaragua there, came on shore. Cool. I'm trying not to sneeze. I have a sneeze holding on there. And this was a mid to late November storm. You remember this one? This was like peak pandemic, right?
Yep. 2020. Goodness gracious. Oh. And then Kate.
Yes.
A famous November storm. If you remember, 1985, again, November 15th, all the way up towards the very end, about a week before the end of that hurricane season. And this would be a scenario, anything that were to get into the Gulf, then you start kind of thinking about Florida impacts.
Yeah, and you know what happened with Kate here, and the same thing for that matter kind of with Nicole. You see how they start to track off towards the west and they make that sharp turn towards the north. That's it getting kind of hooked by the jet stream there, right? Yeah. So once it gets further north, that higher of a chance of it getting hooked up, if anything was to form, which it right now doesn't look like it. But this is just kind of, I think the point of showing this, Lou, is to say that in November, we still need to be kind of aware of storms developing out here. The season's not over yet. And this is actually some of the major storms in November. Eta, I didn't even put Eta in there. That was also from 2020, the Cat 4. Talking about Kate there, Michelle, 1932, a Cat 5. Yikes.
Look at what happened with Raphael. All right, so Raphael is a Cat 3, 2024. So never, it crosses Cuba, gets caught in the Gulf, and then just kind of fizzles out.
Yeah.
So a lot of shear, and then cooling sea surface temperatures as well. So that would be a potential scenario. Anything that kind of gets in that Gulf right now, will it be able to maintain and have enough energy? We look at something like Nicole, which I remember extremely well, being in St. Augustine for that one. And I really think the season we've had, it would be tough for a kind of an east to west approaching storm right now, with trough after trough.
Yeah, it just, and this is another look at what Lou's talking about here with these troughs. So these jet stream dipping down, something would have to form in the Western Caribbean if it even remotely wanted to get up towards the southeast.
Not to put you on the spot, are you able to pull up our tropical satellite just to look at kind of the Western Caribbean and what's there now?
Of course.
It'd be interesting. I know we've had a couple of kind of clusters of thunderstorms just off Central America in the Western Caribbean, and I know right now Hurricane Center does not have anything highlighted over a week or so's worth of time, but your global hazard outlook as we get beyond into the 2-3 week period of time certainly shows at least a small chance of something getting kicking there in the Caribbean.
This is not meant to be black, by the way. It's just loading up the graphics. They've been notoriously slow right now.
I put Robert on the spot by asking about a
You're fine.
A stray
All right, here we
graphic
go.
that.
This is what we do here.
But here we go. So so let's look there. All right. So cluster. Now, if you look out towards the Eastern Caribbean, very clear. That's encouraging. This is kind of indicative of your Central American. So yeah, there you go. Eastern Caribbean out towards Hispaniola, the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico. Pretty clear. Right? Going down towards, again, Central America, Honduras, Belize, and we're there's a great look at our kind of troughs, again, up front that has moved into the Atlantic.
Very evident there. Those cold weather clouds coming off the East Coast.
Yep. And so we have something called that Central American gyre, which a spin up, that Robert's kind of circling there, kind of area of low pressure that spins right around our Central American countries that could spark a thunderstorm or two. Your issue is for anything developing would be you'd have to have your eyes on Yucatan Peninsula, Central America for feeling impacts. It just would be so tough for something to get into the Gulf and fully materialize and continue to track, because as Robert showed us that one front, we've got another that almost extends into the Gulf right now. Which we've got circle, and then we've got another back towards Mississippi River Valley, but really extending latitudinally across Missouri, Kansas, and that's another front that we're going to watch and wait on to impact our weather as we get closer to the weekend. But again, that's just another week of another front that would act as a force field and keep things kind of away.
And I guess to talk about that and acting as a force field, let's. I want to bring up the 7-day forecast talking about for the Jacksonville area here, where we have these. It's actually kind of warmer by the end of the week, but it's only because of this just abundant sunshine, right? But then right there, Sunday and the Monday, very evident what's happening there. Another front kicks on through, so we get the chance of rain. Front, boom, cooler air coming in behind it here, Lou.
And if we transition kind of to just local weather here for a moment, abundant sunshine, small rain chances Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not zero, but there is the potential for maybe getting an isolated quick little shower with this front that's coming through, some clouds starting to build in again by Saturday, Sunday. Abundant sunshine for you, though, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with some warm temperatures in our afternoon. In fact, by the time we get to Saturday, we're going to be close to record high temperatures, when we're getting into the mid 80s. I think that we'd be a degree or two off. In fact, I'm going to go look at the archive and just make sure. But I believe Saturday would be close, just because as that front approaches, you get southwesterly winds and you start to see a little warm air punching in.
Are you going to be turning the AC back on?
No.
Yeah, it's kind of boring because we're starting still in the 50s in the morning.
I'm done with the AC.
Done with it. Save that electric bill. Save it.
I'm done. We're gonna struggle bust through that. We're gonna keep the doors closed. A lot of people have had the windows open, in the mornings, get that cooler air in, then shut those things. And by the afternoon, if it does get the 80s, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna have some of that. Nice. I'm not turning it back on. But looking at Monday, a hint for what's to come. We're gonna start forecasting for next week here tonight. We're gonna start looking at Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday and beyond. And we have the potential for getting some really cold air getting into the southeast. Modeling would suggest even some spots getting very close to a freeze as we get to Tuesday, Wednesday. Robert, how's that for a tease?
That's a good tease. And you're going to talk more about that coming up this afternoon at 4:30, right?
For sure, yeah. And then, at 4:30, that's awesome because we got another Talkin Tropics. We got Rick Knabb. From the Weather Channel coming in at 4:30. So
former director of the NHC.
I'll put that same question I put to you on him. We ready to call it time of death, or
I'm sure
talking life support?
He will have thoughts.
I'm sure he will.
I don't know why I popped this up when we were talking about Rick Knabb, because he's a superstar. But we also have the Super Beaver Moon.
Tremendous Super Beaver, ladies and gentlemen. That's such a great graphic, Robert.
This is proper use of AI, by the way, right there.
Right. Yeah.
This is what it should be used for.
This is what ChatGPT's for.
Yes.
we put in a couple of prompts. ChatGPT. We said, give us a super beaver with a moon that generates its superpowers, and here we have it. All right.
He's like the opposite of Superman. He gets his energy from the sun. This is a beaver. That's just
he gets his energetic high from the glow of the moon at perigee, and that's the only time he's got power is at perigee.
Otherwise, he's just a normal beaver.
He's just out there damming it up. And Robert educated me. So we call a supermoon because it's at its closest approach to Earth. And now I've learned, I had no idea why the beaver element of it. And Robert?
Oh, it's because the beaver is most active this time of year. So in November, especially in northern climates where beavers are, they're getting ready for winter. So they're doing their hardest to make their dam a little bit more sturdy. The hut where they live inside of, they're packing it down, they're mudding it up, because then they go in there and they kind of hibernate. They don't really hibernate, they just kind of chill in there, they stay warm. And this is the time of year where they're super busy and active, and that's why they're called it's called the beaver moon. So fun facts.
The dams this guy could make.
Oh, this guy, he's done.
This guy's doing the Hoover.
He's got like laser eyes and everything. Jeez.
Yeah.
He's been hitting the gym too. He's just muscles.
Well, it is because the moon's here. What about the meteor shower, Tara? We going to see any?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I only bring this up because I see a lot of people asking about it, and people are pointing, oh, there's a torrid meteor shower. And I'm like, one, you have to manage your expectations with meteor showers. A lot of times people think that this is kind of what you see. It's going to be one meteor after another. And there are very rare, once every 20-year events that it is like out of the movies. But reality is with this one, it's 3 to 5 in peak conditions. But the fact that our super beaver is going to be there kind of over brightening any falling shooting stars, you're probably going to have a hard time seeing it here. So, yeah. That's a good topic to end on here, Lou.
It's going to be beautiful, one way or the other. We get a couple of high tide cycles the next 48 hours, 72 hours. We'll watch our high tide cycles for about a foot and a half above normal dry land. So just that kind of little nuisance flooding potential along our coast, along the St. Johns River Basin. But otherwise, you got beautiful viewing for a great moon. We've already had some crystal clear nights that cool off real fast, but you've already seen kind of the waxing moon, and we're getting to its full period. So enjoy that part of it, and enjoy the fact that we've got quiet tropics for now.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Robert.
4:30. Be sure to check that out. It's always Tuesdays, just always super interesting with Dr. Nab here talking with us about
absolutely
what's going on.
See you at noon on the TV
noon,
side?
yes, TV side, noon. Okay.
All right, have a great one. Thank you, Robert.
This is a Tracking the Tropics update with a certified most accurate weather team at First Coast News.